In today's video, I'm going to share with you how microdosing may support in healing trauma. Welcome to the channel, everyone. My name's Fola, and here on Deep Mind Squared, we talk all things bridging mental wellness and spirituality for nurses. And I myself am a psych nurse turned shamanic practitioner and Reiki master teacher, and I found a lot of healing within the use of plant medicines on my personal journey through trauma. Just a little disclaimer too, this is not to condone or condemn or agree with any illegal activities. It is up to you to do what you need to do. But I'm just coming from this like harm reduction lens that people are going to turn to psychedelics and plant medicines. Make sure you're making the best choice for yourself. And make sure you're aware of what are some of the legalities in that in your city, your province, state, or country, wherever you might be in watching this video. So before we get into it, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so that you're updated on any future video releases. And I also want to just tell you that I'm going to try and do this video a little different instead of all the edits. Let's just try to be in like more of a flow. So I got my notes here, and I'd love to hear in the comments what you think in terms of preferring my other videos and the editing versus this just like kind of single flow. And I guess I'll do what I can to speak clearly. So this conversation around trauma and microdosing, it's coming up more and more in our society right now. Microdosing, just as a little heads up, if you haven't seen my other videos on that, is when we would take a smaller dose, like a very small dose of any plant medicine or psychedelic. So people might microdose psilocybin mushrooms, for instance, or even LSD or acid. And people do this because it helps them to connect to their creativity. Psilocybin especially is being known to support with like anxiety and depression. There's lots of different reasons. Concentration, someone who might have ADHD, ADD, they can find these certain medications or plants, psychedelics, whatever you want to call them, very helpful. Another thing is that people find it healing for like their personal wounds. And to me, this is where plant medicines can come into play, is the fact that they can support us with uncovering certain things about ourselves. So I want to just share a bit about, what are some ways that it can support trauma. And just as a reminder too, that trauma can impact anyone and everyone. I'm not going to get into all the studies because I don't have all those facts memorized for this video. But they say that, at least, I think it's like 1 in 5 even, people have experienced some form of like sexual trauma alone. So if we look at those numbers, like that's a significant amount of people. And that's a very specific form of trauma. Whereas everyone, I think, has gone through some form of experience where maybe they even had that perceived thought or perception that something harmful was going to happen to them, albeit like death completely, right? Or some like life or death situation. I know for myself, I've gone through some pretty significant traumatic events in my life, and it's really impacted me. So just trying to come back to this place that mostly everyone's gone through some form of trauma when we were children, different things we might have experienced. And so it's important that we acknowledge that and allow the healing to take place in our life. And also acknowledging that it might not always be the most pleasant thing to go through. But it's definitely worth it coming out and being that like beautiful butterfly that transforms. So what exactly are some of the ways in which microdosing can support trauma? I feel like the first thing really when we're talking about this is the fact that when we microdose, it can support us in shifting our belief systems about ourselves, about the world, and also those like core values or those core beliefs that we have carried for most of our life. If we think about ourselves as like these computer operating systems or hardware, we got our brain, and then we got like all this information and energy flowing through like this operating system. It's like we too have these certain programs in our mind, in our energy, and we continually create our life based on those programs. And if we've gone through a lot of trauma in our life, we start to carry these certain beliefs. One that I've worked on in my sessions is the fact that like I don't trust men, or I don't trust certain groups of people. And this can be a program that we continually create and bring into our world. And microdosing and other forms of healing, but in this case, microdosing can really support us in healing these pieces. So it helps us to basically break down all these old beliefs and gives us an opportunity to create something new and wonderful. Which then takes us to the next reason that microdosing may be really supportive for healing trauma. And that is the fact that it kind of takes us out of like our current level of consciousness and expands it into what I would identify as the plant consciousness, or this like all-encompassing consciousness. All-encompassing consciousness. Yes, that's what I'm trying to say. And there is this beauty that I think we can touch on when we take these plants, and it helps us to go past our own limitations, our own bounds as these like humans and these physical like meat cards, as my friend would call them. And that's a beautiful thing. Obviously, this is probably why psychedelics are considered illegal, and other plant medicines, you know, even though various indigenous groups and peoples utilize a lot of these medicines for their own healing, their own spiritual practice amongst their peoples, and are spreading it even now to the world. If we think about it, especially like mushrooms, like you can go and find psilocybin mushrooms in a lot of places in Canada, at least. So it's like, why would that be illegal to access what the earth is producing? But anyways, I'm not going to get into that legal conversation. But I can see why psychedelics would be illegal if, in order to have a system operate and function with a sense of order and like form and structure, you need people to be within their boxes. So giving them psychedelics or plant medicines isn't really going to help keep people in boxes. It's going to open them up. And then there's a bit of a risk there of losing control. So you can see it's like this benefits and cons sort of outweighing those risks, and seeing what works for oneself, and acknowledging that sometimes it can open things that you might not really want to see about yourself, but that's completely okay. So great, you've like built all this knowledge and this understanding and had things come up during the microdosing session. There's a piece here that I think is also important, which to me, this is where microdosing comes in hand, is this like short period where we get to integrate between these small doses. Because what happens in microdosing is someone might take a dose on the first day, they wait a few days, and then they take it again on the third day, and then they might repeat this cycle depending on the type of scheduling or dose scheduling that someone might want to abide by. And I think I have another video I should talk a bit about that. But really, when we can have these periods of breaks between, we're able to integrate, if we're doing the integration work with the appropriate person or persons, group, whatever that looks like for you. Super important here that we do that integration piece. Otherwise, with any form of trauma, you know, you can have things come up and you might see it, but if you can't like really take what you've learned and the things and like really dived into what does that mean, then how do I like make the next steps in my life going forward, then to me it's almost pointless. You're just like popping a pill. What's good is that? Like, we see where it's gotten us now anyway. Anyways, that's my own personal thoughts. And there's just something so beautiful around this integration of any work. So with microdosing, I want to like encourage you, if that's something that you're finding yourself interested in, or you're already doing this, to seek out that integration support. There's people who do this type of work. This is something I do with folks, and it's really powerful to see like the group container as well, because that reminder with trauma, we know with trauma, the thing that can be the most healing is a sense of community. We can't be on it on our own. We felt alone. That's why we had the freaking trauma. We like couldn't talk about it safely with anyone. Now it's like, how do we build these containers or these spaces where people can talk freely about trauma and things that might be coming up? And those beliefs, those wounds, those feelings, the sensations in the body, all that stuff. There's something really powerful when we can talk about it. So integrating it with another person or persons will be very healing for you on your journey if it's done correctly. Correctly? I don't know. Maybe that's my perfectionism coming in as usual. Anyways, so I think that's really all I wanted to talk about. Another piece I would say is also around connecting to the body, which I think is part of the integration, because when we can have these beliefs come up, then we can also integrate it and like bring it into the physical body, become more aware of the physical body, which sometimes isn't the most comfortable, especially on plant medicines. A lot of people talk about that when they take things like they notice their body changes shape or form. They might become like, have kind of different perspectives of how their body might look or feel even. And so the microdosing can support with becoming aware of certain areas of the body, because we become more sensitive to all these pieces of ourselves. And we know that trauma oftentimes is held in the body. So when we can see and witness that, and also do some other sort of techniques that can support healing those sort of like somatic pieces, then that can definitely help transform our trauma and help us to step more into the world in the beautiful way that we are meant to. And to, I think, ultimately come into a place of self-acceptance, which I know for myself and my journey has been a challenge when it comes to the past traumas. So, yeah. Wherever you might be, again, do what you need to for you. Make sure you're keeping yourself safe and supported. And let us know in the comments where you are interested in this type of work, if it's something that you've considered. And feel free to share this video with anyone you think might be interested in learning more about microdosing and some of these other sort of alternative healthcare practices that I feel will become our primary ones in the near future. But until then, I will see you all in the next video. Take care.